Hi, my name's Tanya Farber. I'm a 2021 graduate of Yeshivat Maharat, currently on faculty in the Course Smicha program. And today is day 2, Maharat's 10 days of Torah leading up to Shavuot. It's Sfiras HaOmer, which began the second day of Pesach, going to Zman Matan Torah, saying the giving of the Torah. Tuesday would be day 38. And the Rambam describes the Sfiras HaOmer, the counting of each day in eager anticipation, like someone awaiting their beloved. And as we go towards this moment of Shavuot, is this just a commemoration of a historical religious event, or is it more? In the Sefarim HaKadoshim, the great mystical works, we learn that the very kochos, the very energies and potentials that were imbued in the original event are available to us. And the great spiritual avoda work, of course, is how to access that, how to tap into that. And in terms of Shavuot, which is revelation, the ecstatic moment of revelation, how do we re-experience that? What does that mean? What sort of kochos and energies can we possibly be tapping into? Not in reference to Shavuos, but in Sefer Devarim, we're told, do not forget Ma'amad Har Sinai, pen tishkach, lest you forget, es ha'devarim asher ra'u einecha, that which your eyes saw. What did our eyes see? That's past tense. But in the present tense, in terms of what is happening in Maharat Har Sinai, in chapter 20, in the book of Exodus, we're told, Ha'am, the nation, ro'im, they saw as hakolos, they saw the thunder, the voices, just absolute synesthesia, right? We're seeing that which is usually heard. The Sfas Emes, the great Hasidic teacher, explains the different capacities of perception of sight and hearing, each one having a mila, an advantage, and a chisaron, and a disadvantage. The mila of re'iyah is we get the whole panorama in shleimus of the picture. We see all the details foregrounded in the background, the entire scope integrated as one whole, and yet we are separate. There's a separation between spectator and that which is being seen and beheld. Whereas Shmiya doesn't have that capacity. I mean, I'm sure the thunder and the kolos that were at the great revelation were too much for our senses to contain and to process. But even when we're in a noisy place, right, it's hard to discern in terms of taking in the different sounds and to make sense of them, because sound waves come into our system, the stimulus enters within us wave by wave, syllable by syllable, word by word, and the Sfas Emes describes this as an absorption. It becomes part of us. And we could take this further, and we could say that when the kolos, when sound enters us, it's sequential, right? Because if we would scramble the words of a sentence or the notes in a tune, it would become incomprehensible. And so there's something very focused and very narrow in terms of how we can internalize taking in through shmiya, through hearing from the outside in. So re'iyah is separate, but seeing what is outside of us, whereas hearing might be limited in terms of scope, but it's a deep absorption and a deep taking in, focused on the details. Well, we might not be able to reenact and tack into the ecstatic synesthesia, revelation experience, but perhaps these are keys to our own avoda, our own work of Kabbalah Satorah, of being vessels that can receive the Torah. Let us open our hearts, open our ears to let the kolos, to let the kol Torah, both the thunder kol as well as the kol damama daka, this quiet, still voice, to enter within our ears, note by note, word by word, to penetrate our minds, our hearts, and our neshamas. And yet, let us pentishkach es ha'devarim asher ra'u einecha. Let us not forget that capacity of seeing, the integration, where details and individual values are integrated as part of a bigger system. So perhaps this is an invitation to find one detail, one meaningful learning, one meaningful mitzvah, and how does that connect us to the higher, broader context of meaning, of purpose, and godliness, whether it's koshering my spoon, words of tefillah, halacha, divrei Torah. How can I appreciate the detail in all its delicious focus, nuance, and subtlety, and yet appreciate seeing it within its context and ultimately its meaning? Chag Sameach.